Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, some of us are still connecting to the audio and joining. So let's just wait for a couple minutes, and then we'll begin. We already have our
Can't
guest.
can't hear you too well.
Okay. Others also not able to hear me well.
Marucha
Please let me know.
is the one who wrote the book for the course.
Yes, Sakshi, I think just
So
try and bring the mic a little ahead. If you can sort of,
Okay. Okay. Let
because
me.
your sound has suddenly
some
gone
people
down. I agree with Dr. Barucha.
submit
Okay. Okay. I will try to
CRT.
be a bit
Yeah,
be a little
slightly
louder.
better. This is slightly better. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Right. So before we begin the session for the day, we understand that some of you are in places where blackouts have been going on, and we hope that all of you are keeping safe. And we really thank all of you for joining us despite everything that's going on. So again, on behalf of CSE and the Environment Education Unit, I welcome all of you to today's session. And this again is a part of monthly sessions that we do in the series that we call Environmentally Speaking. Um, it's a part of a series that we do for our educators who primarily for the college community. So let me quickly introduce Jen to those of you who are here for the first time today, though I can see a lot of familiar names as well. But for those of you who are here for the first time, Jen or the Green Educators Network is a community of college educators who have committed to creating environmental awareness, fostering furthering the cause of sustainable development within their classrooms and by using education as a tool for doing that. So we have educators from across states in our community, and all of us together come together once a month to discuss pertinent environmental issues, what could be the possible topics that can be taken up, what are the innovations that are being done in the field of environment education. And today again we are here for another such session. So I again welcome all of you to this session. And if any of you would like to register for the network, we will put the registration link for the network in the chat box. Kindly note that this session, this network is only open for college educators. So for school teachers, we already have the Green Schools Network. Most of you who are here today from schools are a part of the network. So if you are a college teacher and have not yet registered for the Gen Network, you can do so by filling out a simple form. I'll put the link in a bit in the chat box. Now, let us come to the topic that we are here to discuss today, the landscape of environment education in India. So I feel that a lot of you have joined us for our previous sessions. So you would have some idea of the kind of discussions we have had previously with respect to what environment education in the country looks like, and where do we expect it to go in the coming future. Before we actually begin the session with our guest, I would like to quickly take a check of how many of you are in institutions where environment education is taught as a formal course, and how well do you think it is being integrated in classroom teaching in your respective institutions. So I am just putting a couple of questions on the screen for you. Just 1 second. Yeah. So you would be seeing two questions on your screen. You just have to select the correct answer according to you, and then we will take this discussion forward. So just tell us if there's a formal course on environment education in your institution. It can be the 6-month course that's being run in a lot of universities. It can be some specific course that your university is offering or your school is offering. And how would you rate the integration of environment education into your institution? So even if there's no separate course, do you think that environment education forms a part of the everyday discussions in your classrooms? So yeah, we have a lot of mixed responses, though we also have 3 people who have said that they would rate it as outstanding. That's very heartening to see. Rima ma'am, it's not only for college educators. I was just trying to introduce the GEN network, which is for college teachers. But today's discussion would be relevant for all educators in general. So please do stay in the session with us. It would definitely be relevant for you. All right. We have got quite a lot of responses and a few outstandings as well. Right. I'll just end the poll and I'll share the results with you. Yeah. So as you can see, we have got about 25 responses, and in 17 institutions so far, environment education is offered as a formal course, and 6 people have rated the integration of environment education as outstanding. Can I invite maybe 1 or 2 volunteers to share why they think environment education in their institution is outstanding? Anybody who would like to share? If not outstanding, your experiences as an educator, why what all do you think you have done and something that has worked for you in the classroom? If you would like to share something like that, just a quick maybe 20-second example, if you would like to give, please unmute yourself.
May I?
Share.
Yes. May I?
Yes, please.
This is yeah.
Can't see it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, please.
Yeah. See how we have integrated this in our school is that we conduct these cleanliness drives, right? And then we have so many plantation drives, and we also reach the community. For example, our school is located at a rural urban area, right? So we reach out to the community also, and then we also conduct these cleanliness drives and try to involve the parents as well, parents and other stakeholders in the community. So this is how we have embedded environmental, awareness in our students, and it is there as a part of our activity calendar. We hold various activities, focusing on environmental awareness.
That's
So
wonderful.
this is how we
Community
integrate.
involvement.
Yeah.
Definitely a very, very important pillar when we come to when we talk about environment education. Could we take one example from a college, perhaps from a college teacher, anybody who has integrated environment education in their regular teaching in any way? If you would like to share something, or if you have responded outstanding to the poll, if you'd like to share why you think you've done so. All right, maybe we can come to the responses in a bit when we have had a little bit of the discussion on these topics. Okay, so now without further ado, let me introduce our guest for the day.
Sakshi, may I? Sakshi, may I?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't get who spoke.
This is Dr. Deeksha from IGNOU.
Yeah, Diksha ma'am. Hi. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So you were asking about, yes, our institution, I say that it is outstanding in that sense that we offer a lot of programs from certificate to diploma to postgraduate diploma, PG level, UG level. In all of these courses, we integrate the environment or the sustainability component in one form or the other. So this is the theoretical thing that we do. But apart from that, we have also so many online courses which are dedicated to environment, and in all the study material that we have the component of the environment. In some paragraph, some section, we have tried to see that each and every topics, whether it is social or economics, there is a linkage with the environmental concerns and all that. So that is why I rated my institution as outstanding in terms of linking with the environment.
That's wonderful, ma'am. So you're saying that it is a part of all courses,
Yes,
no matter what the content in itself is,
yes, yes.
somehow connected. That's
Yeah.
that's really great. Okay, thank you, Diksha ma'am. So now let me introduce the speaker for the day. We have with us Dr. Chong Shimray, uh, who is a leading scholar and practitioner in the field of environment education. She's a faculty member at the Department of Education in Science and Mathematics at NCERT. And she has been engaged in the development of science and environment education curricula since 2004. So she's quite a lot of experience in the field. She's also written two books on teaching environmental education and understanding environment education in India. And both of her books have been widely recognized by practitioners in the field. So, I would like to extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Tushita, my colleague Tushita, is there with ma'am in the studio, and she will be taking up the discussion further. So, Tushita, I hand it over to you now. Tushita, you're on mute.
All right. Are we audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tushita, and I am part of CSE's Environment Education Unit. And I am joined here by Dr. Shimray, who was nice enough to come down to our New Delhi office. So thank you so much for taking the time out. You have written extensively on environment education, how it has evolved over the years, and what it can look like and it should look like in a classroom. So we're really thrilled to be listening to you and really hope to get a lot of insights from this conversation. So I think let's get started.
Yeah.
The first question is probably the smallest, but the most difficult to answer, and that is why environment education? So if we could begin with this tiny question.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I don't know if I'm going to be useful because all the participants are already doing so much in the field. So, but I will try to be useful for you all in some way. Some of the things that I'm going to say, hopefully, it's going to be useful in terms of your implementation or in terms of your thought process about environmental education in general. So, yes, that's a very important question. Why environmental education? Because if teachers get this question, get the answer right for this question, I think many of the things will be kind of, I think somebody is still there. Okay. So if we get this question right or the answer right for this question, then pretty much our job is half done, I would say. So why do I say is that when teachers, especially when teachers talk about environmental education, then they think about science and geography, something to do with that. But if you look into all the environmental issues that we come across, that we are going through, that we are seeing, we are hearing about, so all these issues cannot be solved by scientific knowledge alone. There are so many aspects that are involved in trying to solve environmental issues or problems that we are facing. So that is the reason that whenever we're talking about environmental education, we look beyond the science, we look beyond the facts, we look beyond those things and incorporate things like emotions, attitudes, behavior, competencies, and things like that. And so some teachers might ask, like, the content is already there in science. For example, in science, we study about air pollution, we study about biodiversity loss, climate change, everything is already there. But the problem is that in science classroom, the focus is on the science. And teachers do not really have time to go beyond the science of any issue. But as you know, environmental issues are interdisciplinary in nature. To solve that, you need to look at it in an interdisciplinary manner. And that is the reason that we need environmental education as an area or as a subject beyond what science or geography teaches in the classroom. And so what do we need in environmental education is that what do we do in environmental education is that we look at certain areas. For example, we look at awareness and knowledge, which science also provides adequately. Beyond that, we look at, as I said, attitudes and values, because many of the things that we do, we decide are not based on knowledge. We go into the values that we have with us, we carry with us, the emotions that we have with the topic or with the concern. So our actions are not based purely on knowledge. Mostly, most of the time, I would say that our actions are based on the values that is attached to that particular issue. So it becomes that how connected we are to that issue. Then we also look at behavior change, which of course, because of the knowledge that we have, because of the values that we attach to that issue, so we take certain kind of behavior, we behave in certain way, or we take certain kind of action. But in order to take such action, appropriate action, we also need to have the skills and competencies. Otherwise, we are going to do something which might not be really good, which might be just out of emotion, which and so we also need to have the skills and the competencies to solve those problems. And you also need to have this scope for students to participate in solving this problem. So these are these specific areas that we focus in environmental education: awareness, knowledge, attitudes, values, behavior change, skills and competencies, and providing students to participate in solving the problem. So unless we cater to all of these areas, we cannot say that we are actually doing environmental education. We might be teaching some knowledge component, and that's what we do all the time so far, and that's what we do in science, and we have not really moved beyond that. And so that is the reason that environmental education as an area or as a subject is so important to be introduced in the school system or even in the higher education. So that's how I'll put why we need environmental education.
Great.
Yeah.
So I think it raises a lot of more points that are very essential to answer, and we'll try to answer some of them in our subsequent questions. So to begin with, and to set the context to our entire conversation, could you give us a landscape of environment education in India, as our session is also titled? So the way it has shaped over the years, the way policies and curriculum modifications have shaped it, and otherwise also how they have shaped environment education in India. So if you could chart a landscape of environment education to begin with in
Okay.
India.
There are certain things. So if to start with, maybe I can just take you briefly through the evolution of environmental education in India. I'm sure all of you or most of you are aware about the Honorable Supreme Court's order of 1991, where Sri MC Mehta had, filed a PIL saying that environment is not taken care enough, and so we need to introduce studies about environment in all educational courses. That's what the PIL was about. Then, based on that PIL, the Honorable Supreme Court said that yes, we agreed to that in principle, and so we're going to introduce studies about environment in school, college, and all kinds of education system. That was the decision. But things went on for years. Uh, Ultimately, again in 2003, Honorable Supreme Court came up with this order again directing the nodal agencies, that is NCERT, UGC, All India Council for Teacher Education, all these institutions to prepare syllabus kind of so that a course kind of thing so that this environmental education is introduced meaningfully and effectively, and so that all the states can also introduce that. And so these specific institutions like NCERT, UGC, and AICTE, we all came up with a kind of course which can be introduced in different schools in different parts of the country. So that's what came out of this PIL that was filed in 1991 by Sri MC Mehta, and based on which the Honorable Supreme Court directed us to take action on that. And based on that, we have taken action. So coming to that, there are certain things that we have gone through over the years. So we also have this national education policy, then based on which we come up with the curriculum frameworks for different stages of education. and then we teach accordingly. We reframe or revise the courses accordingly. So that's the regular process that happens. As you all know, we had a latest education policy, that is the National Education Policy 2020, which told a lot of things on different areas how education should be. So let me focus on what it says about environmental education. So some of the very important points that the NEP 2020 talks about environmental education is like integration of environmental education in the curriculum from foundational stage. Train teachers adequately for meaningful and effective delivery of environmental education. That's another very important point. It also says that B.Ed programs should integrate environmental awareness and sustainable development so that environmental education becomes an integral part of school curricula. Another point was that it talks about continuous professional development with 50 hours for in-service teachers, where they can get themselves enrolled in different kinds of courses. And I thought this is where we can introduce environmental education for these in-service teachers. So that's what the NEP provides option for that. It also talks about inclusion of environmental topics in higher education curriculum to enable learners in understanding environmental implications of their professional area and make informed decisions, especially in the applied sciences, engineering, and social science. I think this is very important in the sense that uh, a lot of responsibility is on, look at the engineers. They are the ones who come up with technologies, the innovations that happens. All those innovative ideas are actually implemented by the engineers, brought out by engineers, worked on by the engineers, and ultimately we have devices and appliances and things that come out of that. And so this engineers, when they're developing these devices or these technologies or innovations, if they look into how it's going to impact the environment or how it's going to help the environment, if that is taken care by them, that's going to make a lot of difference. Similarly, with other applied sciences and in social sciences studies, also researchers also. So that's a provision given by, or the recommendation given by the NEP 2020. Another aspect was inclusion of eco clubs and experiential learning activities to enhance environmental education in schools, colleges, and universities, and establishment of community-based organizations to promote environmental literacy, awareness, sustainable practices in local communities. One teacher just talked about how the school is connected with the communities, solve some problems. And so this if all the schools started working in that aspect, then we can make a lot of impact. So that is something that NEP has talked about. And so we might want to expand it in all the schools throughout the country. So that's about the NEP 2020. Then we came up with, based on the NEP 2020, the NCERT came up with this National Curriculum Framework of School Education 2023. And it elaborately tells us how environmental education should be taught in schools. So there are two approaches it has adopted. One is as a cross-cutting area. Uh, the theme, they call it learning about and caring for the environment. So this will cut across all stages of education. That means from grade 1 to 12 in different subjects in different grades. So wherever environmental education or environmental concerns and concepts can be integrated, that's going to be integrated in all the subjects in all the grades. Another thing that NCFSE, that is the National Curriculum Framework for School Education 2023, that recommended is that, which is very important, which is very crucial, which is different from rest of the curriculum frameworks that we have had so far. That is introduction of environmental education as a subject in grade 10, and also as a subject of all sustainability and climate change in grade 11 and 12. So these are big decisions or big recommendations that we find in the NCFSE 2023. Coming to B.Ed courses, we still have the 2-year B.Ed courses that's going on in the country. What's very unfortunate is that we still do not have pedagogy of environmental education in those courses. Similarly, based on the NEP 2020, ITEP program, I'm sure some of you must be familiar with it, some of you not so much, the Integrated Teacher Education Program which is a 4-year integrated course for pre-service students. So even in this course, unfortunately, we have this 2-credit course under the citizenship education, sustainability and environmental education, but it is under the ability enhancement and value added courses and not under the state specific content cum pedagogic courses. That means that we are still not going to prepare as part of this ITEP course. We are still not going to prepare teachers how to teach. They will gain knowledge, but they are still not going to be provided how to teach environmental education in the classroom. So that's again something that we can talk about if you're interested to know more about that. Then also based on the NEP 2020, since we have so many teachers from college, you all are familiar with this, the guidelines and curriculum framework in environment education at undergraduate level, which came up, which was brought out in 2023. So it says that this curriculum framework is to cater to students from diverse disciplines, disciplinary backgrounds, and to sensitize them about the commitment of our country towards achieving sustainable development goals and addressing global environmental challenges. So this is a 4-credit course, but the best thing I would say is that it doesn't say that it is fixed. They say that it says that these credits can be redistributed by the institutions who are offering this course. So that's where you can play around with how you want to actually introduce the course. So, but there are certain gaps in this. Like I feel that out of the 4-credit courses, 3 is for theory based, and just 1 for the case studies and the field work. And you all know what's the examples it's given in the field work, like participation in nature camps, participation in plantation drive. It's documentation of biodiversity of the campus, of college campus. All these are good, but I feel that college students can do much more than this. So we can discuss more about that again. So those are the few things that has happened so far in the country. If I talk about the overview of the status of environmental education in different stages of education. So I'll leave it at that. We can discuss more if you've got questions on that.
That's the perfect terminology. It really puts things into perspective. And the last 2 questions that we have from Dr. Shimray are around the role of teachers and students in a classroom. So we'll get to the project idea she just mentioned. And if you have any questions or anything to add, you can do so towards the end. Moving on to our next question. It is established, Dr. Shimray, that India provides an excellent framework for environment education because it's mandatory at all levels of education. So you do have that space to intervene and work in. But then there are, of course, a lot of challenges to be dealt with, a lot of gaps to be worked at. So, what would you say these gaps and challenges are, considering all the different areas that we have? So, of course, there's content, number one. There are regional differences when it comes to environment education. What is essential in a particular area may not be so in another. Then there are systemic changes, there's curriculum, there's syllabus, there are a lot of factors at play. So, what would you say are some of the biggest gaps and challenges in environment education in India?
Yeah, I have already pointed out some of the gaps, but if we get deeper into that, let us take area-wise in the sense that course-wise. So I have mentioned about the ITEP courses and the B.Ed courses where the gaps exist. So I would suggest that if we really want teachers to teach environmental education effectively in the classroom, then they have to be trained accordingly. They have to be trained how to teach in the pre-service courses. That's definitely, that has to be there. Otherwise, we cannot expect teachers to teach effectively. As I mentioned at the outset, that environmental education is not giving some information about the content, or it's not about content knowledge. So it is much beyond that. And teachers need training in that field so as to transact that effectively and meaningfully in the classroom. Another thing that I feel is that teachers who are going to teach environmental education, they also need to have certain content knowledge. For example, if I'm going to teach environmental education, as I mentioned, it's interdisciplinary in nature. So what does it require? It requires some science of it, some social science of it, some economics of it, some philosophy of it, some psychology of it. So in all of this, some maths of it. So in all of these areas, students need teachers, pre-service teachers, or in fact, even college teachers, they need to have some kind of knowledge. So it could be through credit courses by completing some credit courses in those relevant courses. And so we really need to prepare teachers who are trained in terms of knowledge as well, so that they have the knowledge, required knowledge in different fields, which they're going to use it when they're going to transact it. Plus, we're going to prepare them. It's necessary that we prepare them in terms of pedagogy, how to teach them. But just teaching them pedagogy without giving them the training or having them had that knowledge about different aspects which is required in the teaching of environmental issue, unless that is done, then it's not going to be effective. So these are the two basic points that we really need to do in teacher education programs, pre-service courses. That is, again, let me repeat it again. One is include pedagogy of teaching environmental education in under the pedagogy courses. Of course, so far we have this teaching of environmental studies as subject that is taught in grade 3, 4, and 5. And ITEC course, which I mentioned, also has this pedagogy course for the world around us, but not for environmental education. So we need to have this for environmental education. And also, since we said that NCFSE says that it's going to be integrated in different disciplines, so under the pedagogy of different subject areas, they also teachers or the pre-service teachers also need to be trained how to integrate or infuse environmental concepts and components in their respective subjects. So that also has to be part of their pedagogy course for different subjects, other than the environmental education course that I'm proposing. So these are different ways that we have to do it if we really want environmental education to be transacted meaningfully in the classroom. Coming to college teachers, let me confess that I have not worked in with the college teachers. All I have done is I have read up, I have gone through the courses and all that. So based on that, what I found was that, as I mentioned earlier, I felt that it is too content heavy. This is the time where we should be focusing on more action oriented projects and programs in the course, because I really feel that students should know the required content by grade 10. So whatever content they need to know by grade to grade 10, that should be enough for teachers who are in college to do the activities or to do the projects that they're going to be assigned when they're in college. So instead of teaching them the content or the information, for example, what are the air pollutants, what causes it, and all content based knowledge, I don't think that's what students also want to learn at this stage, because they don't want to learn, and that's the reason that they did not opt for science. For example, like literature students, they wanted to learn literature, and so they opted for literature. But now we're introducing this course called environmental education, and we're teaching them the content all over again. So what I would propose is that in order to fix this gap, I would suggest that, and also because the curriculum framework prepared by UGC also says that it's flexible. It's on the institutions and it's on the colleges to, redistribute the credits and redistribute or rework on or revise the content of the curriculum. So if teachers who are teaching these courses in colleges, if they can reframe the course in such a way that it is more action oriented. For example, what do I mean by that is that more action oriented is that they actually solve the problem. They just don't go and do a case study of what the problems are, but move beyond that and actually solve the problem. For example, their waste is a problem everywhere in all the states throughout the country. So if a section of a student in certain college, they don't have to go very far. Just in their locality, if they look out for waste issue, if they work out with the relevant institutions, relevant offices, relevant scientists who can provide them the actual knowledge about all those, and if they can actually find a way out to solve and actually solve that problem, imagine the impact that we can make it throughout the country. So we have how many lakhs of colleges? I don't know. So if all those students that engage in such activities, problem solving activities, we can imagine, the impact that we can have on that. So I will encourage teachers who are teaching in colleges to rework on the course that they're offering so that it will be more action and solution oriented. So, and I know some colleges that do that. For example, I can cite this Bharti Vidyapeeth Dental College. I think they're working on, which is actually problem solving. You know, they're actually solving that. They're actually doing that, focusing less on the content. And that's possible because of the faculty involved in that. So they have this flexibility since the curriculum framework UGC gives you that flexibility. Why not make the best use of that flexibility and uh, utilize it and make it more, solution oriented course instead of teaching them the content all over again. Yeah. So yeah, those are the basic things, in school education. And for schools, teachers, they're the core of everything. I know they get bashing from everybody, from the students, from the parents, from the school administration, from the government. So they have a huge responsibility. But again, they still have to do it if we have to do something about the environment. A lot of things depend on them. I know they have to do so many things in addition to what they have to teach. But still, then if teachers are really committed, I think that's where we will be able to see the change. So teachers' commitment, motivation, all this are very much required. In addition to getting all these trainings during the pre-service and in-service courses. So personal commitment is very important when it comes to classroom transaction. Yeah, I will put it that way.
I think, Dr. Shimray, there are two more factors that stem from the discussion we are having around gaps in environment education, which is capacity building of teachers, their own knowledge and updating it constantly, and also tackling regional differences, as I said.
Yeah.
And these two are interconnected in a way. So, what are your thoughts around this?
Yes, again, very pertinent point. But if you see NEP again, it talks about contextualization. So this is something very good, very important, especially when it comes to environmental education, as you mentioned. So environmental issues are very local specific. The problems that I face here may not be, what you face in other places. Yeah, you face waste problem, you face air pollution, but the way you face is going to be different, and so the way you tackle is going to be different. And so contextualization of your courses, again, based on what is the problem there, how are you going to mm, gain knowledge in that aspect. So it should be very contextual. Look at the problems, like we talk about climate change, and many of the books that schools introduce, and especially in private schools, they talk about problems of the polar bear in the north. Why do we do that? Of course, those are important, but then we are also facing this impact of climate change wherever we are. So I can cite this example of, for example, I'm from Manipur and I come from a hilly district called Ukhrul. So that place, we never had a problem of mosquitoes. But now, since things the place is warming up, and so it becomes suitable for mosquitoes to breed, and so we have this direct impact of global warming or climate change. So something like that, which is relevant to the students. Teachers have to look for examples or cases which are relevant to the students so that students make sense of that. So that connection, which NCFSE also makes very clear in the curriculum framework, saying that emotional connection, that connection has to be built. Unless things are not connected, we do not value what we do unless we are connected to that, what we are doing. So that emotional connection, contextualization, all these are very important when we are talking about environmental education. So that's something that they have to do, teachers have to do. And again, coming back to the NAP, the continuous professional development. So it gives them an opportunity to enhance their knowledge in different aspects, different areas. So they can choose how to enhance their knowledge in different fields. That is one thing they can explore once these courses are introduced. Also, for schools, I can say, because, pardon me, those who are in college, teachers teaching in colleges, since I work primarily for schools teachers or school students. So I could say this for schools, that we still do not have, higher education people involving in school education, coming up with preparing resources, relevant resources, which can be used in schools. So if there is this, collaboration between higher education universities, which are very specialized in different fields, if they can work together with school education to come up with appropriate resources, you know, which is correct in terms of content. And then we can have teacher educators who can provide us how, the methods or the process, the pedagogy is correct or not. So all this collaboration is required if we really want to enhance teachers' expertise in that field. And so for that, we need good resources, no doubt about it, especially for climate change. It's not easy to teach concepts like this to students. So we really have to have a relevant resource which is true to us, which we can connect with it directly, and which are good, which are interesting. Interesting is also something very important now because students do not have so much of attention span. And so we have to create resources which are really, attractive, or kind of which are engaging, which they can, which are interested in that. So there needs to be a lot of collaboration between higher education institutions where we have the experts in the subject. We need people from teacher educators from universities. We need actual classroom teachers. We need people who are working different NGOs like CSE, who has been working so much in the field of environmental education or in the field of environment. So we all need to come together so that we come up with relevant resources for different places, contextual, which will be useful for teachers in different places. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think you've answered a lot of my next question, which was around the role of educators in a classroom and what they can do to work at these gaps. So you've already covered most of it, but is there anything you'd like to add to that? What an educator should do in a classroom?
Yes, as I said, first of all, if I have to make my teaching learning effective, I should be convinced. First of all, I should be convinced that environment is an issue. I should feel it. Unless I am really convinced about it, I cannot, transact it effectively. That's for sure. And so it's very important for teachers to be motivated themselves. If they're not motivated enough, they should figure a way out to be motivated. But without that motivation, personal commitment, we are not going to be able to teach or transact environmental education effectively in the classroom. So that aspect, personal, what my beliefs about environmental education or my beliefs about climate change, if I do not really even care about climate change, what am I going to teach? I'm not going to teach effectively. So but if I really feel that climate change is a problem and we really need to come together to solve this problem, then the way I teach is going to be different. So that I can guarantee. So that's something that teachers can do besides doing their regular teaching. So with that commitment, if they teach, I'm sure they make a difference on the students as well. Because students are also human beings, right? They know what teachers are, how passionate they are in what they're teaching. So a passionate teacher will definitely make more impact than a teacher who is simply transacting. So those are the two differences. So teachers might really want to, build themselves up, motivate themselves up and learn about all these issues so that they're really convinced about it, so that it makes a difference in the way they teach in the classroom.
That's very well said. And I take the liberty to say this on behalf of all the participants present here. Your primary area of research might be school education, but what you're sharing here speaks to all of us. And I'm sure it's useful to all of us, irrespective of the level we teach at, and even us as NGOs also. So thank you so much for sharing that. My last question for the day for you. We all have reiterated time and again that environment education should be something that leads students from awareness to action. It does not stop at awareness. And with the ever increasing climate crisis, we also need to empower them to adapt to the impacts that they're facing of climate change. So let's delve into climate education, environment education, and its connection with civic engagement when it comes to students. So, how would you say environment education should be so that it makes active citizens out of students who are ready to engage with their local community, not just limit themselves to individual action, but then also go to community action, talk to their government, and work around, as you said. So, what does that environment education look like?
Yes. Again, that's where we want to get finally. So we just don't want to give them some knowledge and leave it at that. But ultimately, what we want students is to actually bring about that change, right? So which is not happening, and I do not blame the students for that because we have not really prepared students to be that. Why do I say that? So look at the way we transact environmental education in the schools. Of course, some teachers, some schools are doing that, reaching out to the community and trying to solve problems. That's fine. But in principle, we have not really catered to that aspect. Uh, Again, if we look at environmental issues, as I said, it's interdisciplinary. It cannot be just content knowledge. You have to know who are the people who are being impacted. You have to know who are the people who can help you solve the problems. You have to know who are the people who are taking decisions, policies, So there are different aspects. And students do learn about those components. For example, they learn the science of environmental issue. They learn about the environmental laws. They learn about, how for example, municipality, for example, how policies work or governance. So they learn in bits and pieces of what is required. But ultimately, we have not really given them an opportunity where they can actually go out and, so that all of those aspects which they have learned, they can actually reach out to those people and try to solve some problem. So that is where the gap lies, that they learn about the components of those required to solve the problem, but they have not been really given an opportunity to go out and actually solve the problem. So again, I do not blame the schools also for this, because it's difficult for schools to reach out to, say, for example, the municipality office, or maybe the scientists, or maybe the NGOs, or maybe the community people. So it becomes a personal commitment of the schools and the teachers again. So schools are already burdened with so many other things. So what I would propose is that in this case, there's so many NGOs working in environmental education, in the field of environmental education. I feel that maybe they might want to act as a fulcrum, in the sense that they can reach out to schools, they can reach out to government offices, they can reach out to the scientists, or they can reach out to the community people, and try to look how to solve that problem, and actually engage the students in solving that problem, so that they know from the young age that this is how you solve the problem. And so when I took an example of college students trying to solve the problem, so when they're in college, then it's not going to be difficult for them. And so this is the opportunity that we have to provide the students. As I said, in environmental education, we also have to provide students to participate. So that participation is lacking in us. So besides doing some plantation or sorting waste or switching off the light or a few things, which are cute, which are nice, that's fine. But solving local problems, actual problems which they are seeing in the society. So for that, we really have to engage outside of the school. Students have to engage with other people who are part of that, solution. So somebody has to bring that together. And I do not know who is that going to be that somebody, but I really feel that it could be NGOs who can do that, who can work together with all organizations involved, so that students also get that experience and expertise, and later on, actually solve the problem wherever they are when they get older. Also, one more thing I want to highlight here is that when we talk about environmental education in schools, many people think that, okay, that's something that they have to do in schools and it ends there. But it's not so. I would say that if students are not able to do so much when they're in schools, they have a lot of opportunity once they get out of the school. So they have to carry that, and that's the reason it's so important to build their attitudes. So once they have the right attitude towards the environment, so it's going to help them in taking the right decisions wherever they are, in any field. They could be a homemaker, they could be a politician, they could be a bureaucrat, they could be scientists, engineers. So having that, building that right attitude towards the environment is so important. So if they build that, and so it's not just for something that they do in school, but it goes beyond, it's lifelong. So that we need to understand it as well, the purpose of environment.
It's like giving them a lens that they should
Yes.
view everything through.
Yes, exactly.
Great. And unfortunately, my list of questions has come to an end. I was thoroughly enjoying this conversation. But I think we need some time for question and answer. So I'd like to open the floor now. A lot has been shared here by Dr. Shimray. If you have anything to add to it, anything to ask her, now is the time. So you can either unmute yourself and ask your question or put it in the chat box. We already have a hand raised. Sakshi, I'd request you to facilitate the process. Could we have the first question, please?
Yeah, sure. So, um, Yeah. Sir, Pandian sir, you have raised your hand. Could you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good evening to everybody. It's an excellent session, but it is a need of the hour. We are such far we have started 10 years back. Still, we are not able to achieve things. That means we should think differently. One way is thinking school through schools and education, how we can incorporate it. More than this, no, we should have more towards say we are telling awareness. We are creating awareness only, but it's not in the field. It is not happening. But I say everyone should be a stakeholder in this. You see, like that we should develop a model. District wise, we should select a place how to implement along with the children, parents, teachers, and the stakeholders. All the stakeholders, including the maybe local panchayat or municipal corporation, whatever may be. Otherwise, we are telling the plastic ban everything, but it is available in the stores. See, the children will learn from the teacher. They'll come to the home, but their parents will bring all the band covers. Things are contradictory, But it is a big challenge. I think it is nice to start and other things, but it should be a localized. The approach should be my thinking, because I'm seeing it. See, I thought Swachh Bharat will make a tremendous change, but it's miserably we are not able to actually see the results in and around us. Because we are also participating earlier some of the inventions. Then we thought it is waste of time, because energy, because we don't have a proper model.
Yes. So
Let our
yeah,
group,
we get the point, sir. So
let our group have a design a perfect model. All of us will try to implement in our places. Again, I used to go to government schools and interact with the children. Sometimes possible, no, will be better model. I may be able to give, no, I will insist the school teachers and HM, headmasters and other people, no. Thank you.
right,
Nice
sir.
meeting you.
So
Nice
so
meeting you.
we'll just have Dr. Shimray's comment on that. Would you like to say anything to that?
No, I totally agree with what Sir said. That's a challenge, things are like he mentioned that plastic bags we talk about not to use, but it's available in the market. That's for sure. That's true. So many things have to come together so that things work. There's a challenge. The biggest challenge with in trying to solve environmental issue is that so many things have to come together. And if there is some lacunae somewhere, then things are not going to work. So everything has to work together. To make everything work together, it's a challenge, but it's a challenge we have to take it head on. So that's something. And so government is trying to do that. Of course, single use plastic ban, they have already implemented that, but we still find that single use at some places, that's still there. But who are the people who are buying it? At least if majority of us who are aware about it, if we stop buying it, production will, automatically be reduced. So it's about market is about all these things about, who are the consumers, how much people are consuming. And so if we stop buying, I can we don't have control over everybody to stop buying, but at least if we educate students enough, if all of us who are educated, who are aware about it, at least stop doing that, then maybe to some level we can do that. But definitely I agree with you saying that everything has to work together. Economy, uh, there has been a lot of discussion on all this, like what do we do with this? And then we talk about, okay, raising standard of living. So when you talk about raising standard of living, that means that when we call that, then we look at something like, okay, a house, then a car, then if it's a hot place, you have set of ACs, a couple of ACs in the house. So then automatically the impact comes on the environment when you try to raise a standard of living for everybody. So how do you raise a standard of living without compromising with the environment? So those are the challenges that economists and the environmentalists are, struggling with. So again, these are not easy questions, but at the most, what we can do as educators, as teachers, is that we can educate the best possible way so that at least the students that we train, they practice what they can practice. I do not say that, even for me, uh, I sometimes buy plastic, bottled water when I have to buy. Doesn't mean that, okay, now that there's no, I don't want to buy, I'm so environmentally conscious that I'm going to die of thirst. I'm not going to buy. I'm not going to do that. So as a set attitude, what attitude do I have? If I know that this is what I'm doing is bad, but I'm still doing it because I have to do it. I have no choice at that point. So these are the attitudes that I would want teachers to build, not like strictly trying to stick to that. So if we look at something that is perfection, we will never get there. But we always try to move towards perfection. So that's what we're trying to achieve or do through, education. So I think that's all we can do as educators. And if we can see, as I said, we are building students, we're preparing students who are going to be policymakers, we're preparing students who are going to be doctors, engineers. So from where all of this stuff is coming, we talk about plastic, where is this coming? So if somebody in the policy making, if somebody was very environmentally conscious, then they will have taken a stricter policy. If somebody was trained enough, an engineer was so environmentally conscious, then that engineer will come up with a technology or a device which is more environmentally friendly. So this is what I'm trying to say, that when we are doing environmental education, it's not just about, trying to do something during that course. It's about preparing future, present as well as future generation people who are going to decide, for the society and for ourselves as well as for the society and for the nation. So that's what we're looking at when we're doing environmental education.
That's perfect. Can we
So,
have the next question? Yes, Akshay.
yeah, there are two questions which are more or less related. One is by Priyanka ma'am, and the other is a comment by Tulika ma'am. So Priyanka ma'am is asking for some case studies, which they can be taken up with college students in the classroom. And Tulika ma'am is again emphasizing that case study, the action-oriented projects that Dr. Shimra you mentioned, they should be a part of the credits that students are earning during their
Mhm.
courses. Before I ask you to respond, Dr. Shimre, I would just like to tell both the teachers here. We did a program with college students recently, where we tried to engage them into some form of this action-oriented project that we're talking about. And the students came up with really good case studies, and we have put all of that in a magazine. I'll share the link in the group. Please do have a look. Dr. Shimre, what do you have to say for that?
Yeah, yes. Case studies, again, I have no, I don't work in the field, This is, again, my drawback of that. I only read about things that other people are working on or have worked on. So that's, my knowledge is limited when it comes to case studies. I admit that, I confess that. So there are so many organizations like CSE, there are CEE, there are other government organizations as well who have done a lot different cases, there are so many good case studies are there. And so if they can use that as part of their teaching learning, so that will be really useful for the college teachers and for schools, of course. Yeah, we try 11 and 12 grade climate sustainable and climate change course that will be introduced as an optional paper in 11 and 12. That's going to have a lot of cases that I can tell you now. So I do not know when this is going to be introduced, but when it is introduced, we're going to have a lot of case studies, mostly focused on India, as well as some case studies which have really worked outside as well. So those are the things that we are working on. Definitely, case studies are very useful, so that we really know that, okay, this works. Unless we know that something works, and it doesn't motivate us enough. So we also need to know what has worked, and what can work. So yeah, I agree that case studies are very important.
Right.
So, Akshay, could we take one last question and then close the session maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. Vaishali ma'am, you have your hand up for some time. Could you
Uh,
please and ask your
yes, good evening, ma'am. Myself, Vaishali Niyogi. I am a TGT science teacher and working for this environmental front for last 3 years. So I'm just want to share one of my personal experience. I worked for a single-use plastic bottle awareness program, and for that program, the children are very enthusiastic. They had collected the plastic waste, they segregated, they had given it to the recycler. So one day they need to come with some extra work to the school, and the parents denied, one of the parents denied कि मैम ये तो इसका ट्यूशन का XYZ ट्यूशन में फिजिक्स का ट्यूशन क्लास है, and he cannot be missed. And he also asked me कि मैम ये प्रोजेक्ट के लिए how much marks the child will be getting. And in the other hand, if the child is missing the physics tuition class, he may not able to understand the concept further. So when you are introducing this climate environmental education in the next academic session, my request to you to give something point oriented things for the Indian parents. Otherwise, it will going to be just a lecture based teaching methodology, ma'am.
Sakshi, you want me to answer now?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Yes, that is the biggest challenge schools are facing. I come across many researchers who work in schools, who work with school students, and they are allowed to get into the school till grade 8. Once they're in 9, they're not even allowed to get into the school because they say that, okay, they have to study, they have to prepare for this board, this, that, and all of that. So that only shows how we are treating environmental education. That only shows that we are still not really feeling that environmental issues are a problem, that these issues are our issues. We have not really felt that. And so this where, see, ultimately why we do all this, why we study, why we earn, because we want to, ultimate goal is that we want to, live a decent life. Living a decent life is without having a good environment, a physical environment. How can we live a decent good life, right? It's not possible. But we forget about that and we get into this career building, and all of those things are prioritized, which of course they're important, but at the cost of, at the cost of something that we are looking for in future. So ultimately, why we study physics is that so that I can get into some course, so that I can get a good job, so that I can live, a comfortable life. But without environment, a good environment, how can you live your comfortable life? So I think this where, that connectedness, do we even feel about this? That there is something called environmental issues that we are facing eh, day in and day out. Like if you're living in Delhi, then air pollution thing, how much it's a problem. But once that season is over, by February, by January, then everybody forgets about it. How is that possible? This is something that we really still have to work. And so, emotional disconnectedness has to be built more than the knowledge aspect. This connectedness, how do we build on this? So this is something where we have to explore, so that students, teachers, parents, and everybody who are all stakeholders make feel that it is important to address this. That environmental education is important. This cannot be compromised. This is something that they have to prioritize. So this connection building, that making them feel about these issues, is something that we have to really work in schools as well as in colleges. Yeah.
All right.
Do you have anything else?
Any more questions, do we, Sakshi?
No, we just, yeah, we do not have any more questions.
If you have any questions regarding the session when you go through the recording or later on, you can write to Sakshi. She will have her email ID, the Gen email ID in the chat box. So you can write to us. And I would now like to thank Dr. Shimray for joining us here, giving us so much time. And we thoroughly enjoyed your conversation, learned a lot from it. All of us, I hope. And if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, please write to us later. And for now, I think we can close the session. So, Sakshi, over to you.
Yeah. Uh, Once again, I would like to thank all of you for joining in today. Thank you so much, Dr. Shimray, for the wonderful conversation that we got a chance to be a part of today. And I am sure that we will have a lot of things to think about. We have a lot of things that we'll need to ponder upon further. So if you have anything to add on to the conversation, please do write to us. I've put the email ID in the chat box. And if you are a part of a college or teaching in a college, we would love to have you as a part of our Gen network as well. So I will put the link to join the network in the chat box in just one moment. So please fill out the form, join us, and we hold these sessions on a monthly basis. So we would love to see you again in the next session. Till then, please take care, and thank you so much for joining in. We'll see you next time. Thank you,
Thank
Tushita.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Shimray. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.